Hey guys, my name is Kyle, and in this video I'm going to be showing you guys the exact process that I have used to generate thousands of leads with cold email. And this is the same process that I use for all my clients too. So I'm going to come back to this, which is how to build out cold email infrastructure and like the KPIs you need to know for goal setting. I'm going to start off with the market research side of things. So most people, a lot of people will start just scraping data and start doing copywriting. They won't do any market research. The market research is the foundation of your copywriting messaging and how you write the copywriting and how you scrape the data. Okay? So all your market research is the foundation you need. It's like building a house without a foundation. You start putting studs in the ground, right? Like, no. So the market research is the foundation of us scraping data in our copywriting. After I go through the market research and the data and the copywriting, I will go through, kind of how we execute our campaigns for optimization and deliverability, and then the sales process of how we take a lead and actually close them. Okay. So going into the market research process, these are 5 different prompts that we use. These aren't the actual prompts. These are just what the prompts do. Okay. So essentially what we do for when we get a new client is we give them an onboarding survey. They fill it out, and then we'll do that on a call with them. So we have a prompt, and then we have these variables that we fill in. So the 2 variables that we fill in is the onboarding survey and call transcript. So not all the information gets into the onboarding form because we might be talking about stuff, right? So I want to make sure we also get the transcript into the prompt. So the prompt essentially is going to, do a company analysis. It's going to cover, the core services of the company, the client's company, the revenue models, the geography, the operations, the tech stack. We're going to look at the market landscape, details about the total addressable market, the different segments in the market, the buyer journey, the trends, the regulations. Next, we're going to get also the value propositions. So we're going to identify ROI, metrics, competitive edges, and pricing perception in that market. Next, we're going to look at competitive intelligence. We're going to map out direct and indirect competitive edges and pricing perceptions. Next, we're also going to look at go-to-market challenges. So we're going to outline sales cycle lengths and stuff like that, education needs of the market in order to buy our client service, channel issues, and economic sensitivities. And then we're going to structure the output into quantifiable, actionable insights in a formatted report. And then we have a quality assurance checklist right down here. Next, we're going to take all that information and feed it into our next prompt, which is our total addressable market mapping prompt. So we're going to feed in this output into this prompt, and we're also going to feed in the onboarding survey and call transcript. So what this prompt is going to do is essentially going to create a total addressable market map for our client's company using the prior market research and onboarding stuff, right? And it's going to map it out into 15 different market segments with NAICS codes, the market size of each market segment, the adoption readiness of our client service into that market, the typical budgets, and the decision-making timelines. Okay. Now we're also going to do a segment analysis. So we're going to detail any challenges, current solutions, buying triggers, success metrics, compliance that we need to be aware of, and tech maturity per segment. And then we're going to score these segments based on a prioritization matrix based on size/growth, fit/advantage that we have, sales efficiency, average deal value, and the educational needs that that market might need in order to buy our client service. Okay, and then we're going to do opportunity sizing, so estimates for the top 10 segments, qualified companies, their deal size, penetration timeline, and their 24-month revenue projection. So we're kind of going to rank them, like I said. So the output is just going to be, all these different segments ranked. So what we're doing is we're mapping out the market into different segments, and then we're ranking them based on a series of factors of which one would be best for us to reach out to, essentially. Just to keep it simple, we're ranking them in order of which one is the best one to reach out to first, and then the second one, the third one, the fourth one. But we want to make sure we're not just hitting up the whole market all at once. That's what people do when they scrape data. They just scrape the whole market, right? But there's these different segments. And the more you kind of break it into different segments, the better your copywriting is more relevant to that segment. It resonates better, and you're able to scrape better data, and that's how you get really good positive reply rates. So once we have our top winning market segments, we're going to build a persona. We call it an ideal customer persona for each of them. So we'll use AI. We'll take this answer, we'll put it into this prompt, and what this is going to do is it's going to develop 3 decision maker personas per industry, per top industry segment. So the top 5 winning segments, we'll develop 3 personas for each, and that can be demographic and psychographic profiles. So we're also going to look at like the pain points of each persona, their operational pain points, their strategic pain points, their personal pain points, their financial pain points with quantified business impact, right? And then we're going to look at the buying behavior of each persona. We're going to map out their research process, their evaluation criteria, their budget authority, their timing, and their vendor preferences. And then we're going to group these personas by shared pains, triggers, impact, urgency, and messaging angles. And then we're going to do a prioritization matrix again. So we're going to rank these persona segments, these persona segment combos by pain severity, solution fit, accessibility, budget, and prospect value. So we're basically going to rank these profiles now that we group together by pain and stuff like that. So we'll validate it with our checklist. And next, we're going to figure out where is the best places to get data for each of these pain groups that we put together, right? So we put all these different personas into groups based on pain and stuff like that. Now we're going to figure out where's the best place to get data for each of these, because they're all going to be from different places. They could be the same, but usually there's different places for each persona, okay? So we're going to figure out 15 different data sources we can get data for each of the different pain qualified groups. Okay, so we're going to give the prompt the information from this answer. So it's going to be like what industry, what sub-industry, geography, company size, channel, criteria, budget, volume, targets, right? We're going to take all these different, we're going to do one persona group at a time. So we're not just throwing all the personas in here. We're doing one at a time, and we're giving it all the information about the persona so we could do the research. So it's basically we're going to look at directories. So we're going to try to find directories like associations, publications, conferences, filings, certifications, and awards. In your industry, we're going to look for 5 scrapable sources online. Like I said, directories, associations, government listings, news, social groups, review sites. And then we're going to score each of these different data sources based on relevance, quality, volume, cost efficiency, accessibility, updates, and compliance. So we're going to rank now these data sources for each different persona, right? So now we know where to get the data from. So before, if you didn't do this, you would just start scraping data from probably Apollo. But we have 10, 15 different data sources that we can scrape data from that you might not even be thinking of because you didn't do your market research. Okay, now we do always still get data from Apollo, but it's not the only place, right? And that's what we're trying to figure out, right, in here. So next we'll kind of build a keyword list for Apollo, Clay, Instantly, those type of databases. And we'll basically build a keyword list. So these keyword lists that we're building that we use for filtering is keywords that would be on your prospects' websites, right? So we filter by keywords. So we'll generate a list of keywords that would be on your ideal customer prospect's website. So we'll take all this information about your market research, all this stuff, and tell AI to build a keyword list. So it's going to be super accurate. We'll use that keyword list. We'll build for each different persona, these keyword lists, and then we'll scrape all that data. So that's the market research side. That's a lot, but I want to make sure you understand it because it's very important for the rest of this process. The rest of the process can't be done right if you don't understand that. So next we're going to go into the data process. So we will use our keyword list and go to B2B databases like Apollo, Clay, etc., and start filtering data to see how much data we have per market segment. We will note down how much data there is because we will email our total addressable market once every 3 months. So we don't over email them, but we also don't under email them. So for example, if we have 100,000 people in our market, we're going to email 33,000 each month. So, because we don't want to email them, we don't want to go through all 100,000 in 1 month and then email them again. That's over emailing them. We also don't want to reach out to them, not enough and do it over 6 months. So we'll take the total addressable market by looking at the data. We'll actually go to the databases, see how much data we got, and then we'll divide it by 3. Okay. Next, we will repeat this process with online directory/review sites like Yelp, Trustpilot, Google Maps. There's hundreds of directories out there. Next, we will try to scrape any data from niche databases. So like, for example, for contractors, there's a site called Shovels. It's all data only on contractors. For e-commerce, there's a database called Store Leads. We could go to Store Leads to get e-commerce database. If we're trying to reach out to influencers, there's Influencer Club, which is another database for influencers. So we'll also do that. And then lastly, we'll do some creative plays and test those out too from where we got in the database sourcing prompt. So that's kind of where we get, we'll kind of map out how much data we actually have, and then we'll scrape it all. So and the next step is the enrichment step. So now we've scraped data that we believe it's the best potential prospects. Now we're actually going to enrich those prospects inside of Clay so we can score them later on. So in this step, we will enrich the data we need in order to see if a prospect is qualified. If they are not qualified, we will not reach out to them. So for example, examples of enrichments: head count. We'll get the head count of a company, the industry of a company. Did they raise any capital recently? What technology are they using? What location are they in? Because we might only want them in certain states. What is their monthly web traffic? How many job openings do they have? What year were they founded? Do they have any case studies in their website? We'll use Clayagent and AI Agent to scrape all prospects' websites if we need to. Do they have a certain amount of followers on Meta, X, LinkedIn, YouTube, etc.? And can we find their email and validate it? Okay, so for example, why would we do this? So let's say we only want to work with kitchen remodeling companies with over 50% headcount. So we're gonna scrape the industry. We're gonna verify it by enriching it. Like we already scraped it, but we're gonna enrich it. We're gonna double verify because we want to have good data. So we'll enrich the industry, and we'll enrich the sub-industry, and we'll make sure they're kitchen remodelers. Next, we will enrich their headcount with a software, a tool like Lead Magic, and it will tell us the headcount. Next, we will use this data to score the prospects. So we will take all the enrichment data and we will use it to score every prospect against your ideal customer persona to see how well they matched your ICP. So we do this using our AI ICP prompt. All the enrichment variables, like headcount, industry, or whatever enrichments we need, are fed into this AI prompt, allowing AI to evaluate each prospect based on your defined ICP parameters. The system then will automatically categorize each prospect as a tier 1, a tier 2, a tier 3, or an unqualified prospect, depending on how closely they align with the ideal customer persona that you outlined in the prompt, right? And we'll do this automatically for 10,000 prospects all at once. Next is after we enrich the process, we will do AI personalization inside of Clay with the enrichments. So we don't always use AI personalization, and that's intentional. While it's often overhyped, we've tested it extensively and found that it only works well in specific situations where the personalization actually adds relevance. So depending on the campaign and available data, sometimes we use it and sometimes we don't. Here's our process when we do use it. So after scraping our initial prospects, if there's enough data available, we create our first round of copy templates. So we're doing our copywriting and data at the same time. So copy templates, where are we at? Oh yeah, so we create our first round of copy templates. In these templates, we'll include variables designed for short snippets of AI personalization, typically 5 to 8 words. Pro tip, do not let AI personalize the entire email. It's not there yet. Just subtle touches work the best. So once we identify which variables we'll personalize, we enrich that data for each prospect and transfer it into the campaign, merging it with each prospect's information after scoring. So this is examples of effective AI personalization examples. So we'll mention a recent social media post that they just posted, or a comment they left on a post, like a competitor. We'll reference a new job opening they just had, or the name of a recent hire they just hired. We'll note any recent funding they had. We'll highlight any news or PR features that they were in about the company. This approach will keep your personalization kind of meaningful and natural without sounding robotic or forced. Lastly, we will send all this to our sales engagement tool. So by this stage, we've completed both the copywriting and the data processes, because we're doing it at the same time. And we will typically handle these, like I said, simultaneously. Next, we move into the campaign setup. We create the campaign setup instantly. We paste in the finalized copy inside of there from the copy process, and then use Clay to send all this data via API directly into the campaign. After that, we will configure all the campaign settings inside of instantly, record a Loom video, and make sure all the inboxes are fully warmed up before launching. Okay, so this is the process for copywriting. So we'll take all these different ICPs, we'll take all this data that we did in the market research stuff, right? And we have an AI prompt. So I will take my ICP profile we created and put it into my prompt and tell it to create copywriting ideas, right? And we'll also feed the onboarding survey. So the prompt will generate copywriting ideas. We'll take the ideas and we'll generate templates. So for each idea that we generate, we're gonna create 25 templates for each idea. And we're gonna repeat this for each persona, and then we'll pick the templates that are the best for testing, okay? So some of the stuff that we have inside the prompt is we want short and punchy emails. We want to ideally under 75 words, closer to 50 if we can. If you have a better offer, like a really great, incredible offer that is super unique, you can be closer to 75 words. So strong introductory offer. We want tailored messaging, casual, easy to read tone, conversational, not corporate. We want to incorporate relevant social proof. Offer tied to real pain points or desires that we got in the market research. Smart personalization, variables if we're going to personalize. Pattern disrupts, simple subject lines, and like a couple follow-up emails. So after I choose the top 3 templates, I'll test them live in the campaign to see which one brings in the most opportunities. So whatever one brings in the most opportunities, we'll shut off the not as good performing ones, and then we'll A/B test the one that is really good to make it even better. So we'll follow this 3-step process after we pick the templates to ensure our copywriting doesn't get triggered as spam by the email service providers. So we'll spam test the copy for the top 3 templates. Then we'll spin tax every sentence in the template for all 3 templates. And then we'll spam check the copy one last time after spin tax. So spin tax basically just creates different variants of our messaging. So every email that we send is not the same because we have spin tax, which spins the words around with different options. So for each sentence that we have, we'll have it basically have 4 different sentences that it could pick at random, the software tool, right? So each email is different. So after we do the spin tax and spam test copy, we'll go through a copywriting checklist. Is the email between 40 to 65 words? Strong validated offer? Do they have industry relevant language? Is there a unique angle or hook? Is every sentence spin taxed? This wording align with lists that we're targeting? Is it easy to read and skim? Does it include a clear pattern interrupt/disrupt? No filler content, question mark. If personalized, is it meaningful and specific? And now I'll repeat this process for each market segment, right? Next, this is like executing framework. So this is like how we execute and optimize our campaign. So deliverability protocols. We want to warm inboxes for 3 weeks minimum, ramp up cold and warm emails. We're not going to start blasting warm emails. We're going to ramp them up to about 25 to 30 warm emails a day. After 3 weeks of warming up, we will start sending cold emails, and then we'll ramp up the cold emails by 2 cold emails a day. So after 10 days, we'll be sending 20 cold emails a day. At 2 to 3 inboxes per domain. That's the most we want, or else we'll burn our domains and inboxes. Each inbox will rotate monthly. So we're not just keeping those inboxes and emails constantly. we'll have half the emails just in constant warm up and half the emails sending cold emails. And then every month we'll switch them. So we keep our deliverability strong and our email inboxes and domain reputation healthy. So every month we're going to buy more domains because some of them will get burnt. And then you want to have automation set up to stop inboxes that have over a 4% bounce rate. So if your bounce rate goes over 4%, you want to have automations that make those inboxes stop sending emails so we don't further destroy the reputation of the inbox and the domain. We want to switch to better data providers for verifying our emails. So when we verify and validate our email list, we want to make sure that we have good data providers. Okay, now we want to use instantly.ai or bounce ban to verify our catch-alls. We want to configure our DNS records properly. So we want to have an SPF or DKIM or DMARC, all right? We want to have all those. Well, we want to AI spam check our email sequences. We want to use as much spin tags in our cold emails as possible. And we want no images or links in the first email. And then do daily placement tests inside of Instantly to ensure deliverability is still good. Now, these are some of our optimization protocols. So once we start sending the emails, if you're not getting response rates, it's probably deliverability. Look at this checklist. If we are getting positive response, if we're not getting positive reply rates, but we are getting replies, it's typically your messaging, your copywriting, right? And your data. If you're getting positive reply rates, but not meetings, it's usually speed to lead. So if you're getting leads, but you're not getting meetings, it's usually you're not fast enough. Opportunity creation. If you're not getting opportunities, it's typically bad targeting or not an ICP. Okay. Now, these are some of the other things that we follow. I don't want this to go too long. So the beginning of the sales process is we start sending cold emails, right? Let's say we get a positive reply. If we get a positive reply, we have automations where we send each lead to Clay, and then based on the response, like the intent and the score of the prospect, we will push those leads to Slack so your sales team is aware, right? And then we'll also add them to the CRM with routing to a specific account executive or SDR based on the score. If you have multiple SDRs, right, you want to give the best leads to the best closers and the worst leads to the worst closers, okay? And then we use a Loom framework. So we're not just asking for a booking in our cold emails because that causes a lot of resistance. People they don't really want to hop on a call. They don't want to be sold something, right? So we'll always ask, in the cold email, we'll always ask, hey, is it cool if we send you a video showing you how we helped, this person get this result, or something that is beneficial to them, right? A video. And then in the video, it is essentially a video sales letter where you are basically showing how you did it, but how you did it is also the process of how you do it for them. So the goal is for them to watch the video and be like, wow, I need this, right? So after that, there's a positive reply. Well, your SDR or you will send a Loom video back to them, okay? Now the whole team next will send LinkedIn friend requests to that lead. So if they don't end up converting, we will nurture them and also show them social proof. So we'll nurture them with the content, right? So you guys should be posting content daily. If you're not, missing out a lot of opportunity and social proof. But the mindset here that we're thinking of is if we don't convert them, they will keep watching our content and eventually they will convert, okay? And then we'll start targeting them with ads. So they'll see our content, we'll start targeting them with ads. And then we have a 9-step follow-up process that we follow to get them on a call. So if they ask for the video, then go ghost. We have a 9-step follow-up process to get them to want to hop on a call, okay? Now, once they say they want to hop on a call, we'll have another 9-step follow-up process to actually get them on a call. Now, usually we don't have to do all 18 follow-ups. This is just like, if we need to, we will follow up 18 times. That's all I'm trying to say here. Usually it only takes us like 2 to 4 follow-ups, but we have 18 follow-ups strategically made if we need to. And we also give these all to our clients. Okay? And then once they agree to a time, we self-book the call. We are not sending the Calendly link because then they'll go on there, they're like, oh, maybe I'll get to that later. Or they'll go on there and be like, I don't know what time really works. We don't want to do that. So how this works is, hey, if they say they want to hop on a call, we respond back, hey, John, Hey John, I'm available tomorrow at 11 a.m. or Tuesday at 2 p.m. If those times don't work, feel free to suggest a few that do. Right? We're giving them 2 times, and they have to pick one. And those times really don't work. Most of the time, like 9 out of 10 times, they will pick one of those times. And then the last sentence is, if those don't work, so suggest a few that do. They suggest one that works if they don't like our times, and then we self-book it. So we take their email, their name, and we self-book it in our Calendly call. Then we email them after, say, hey, did you guys just want to make sure you get my, you got the link for the call. So we're gonna have them confirm they got the link for the call, right? And then inside our Calendly reminders, we're gonna be pushing them towards a VSL to watch. So it'll be like, hey, a 24-hour reminder. It'll be like, hey, 24 hours for our call. Just want to make sure, please watch this video before our call. This will make our call go smoother and also help inform you more on your buying decision. And basically what this is going to do is get the prospect warm before you have a sales call with them and start talking about your process. Because your process can be very complicated and it's just going to be tougher, right? So we like to have them watch the VSL before the call in the pre-call flow and also show testimonials. So this kind of keeps the prospect warm and also informs them on their buying decision, right? They get to see your process, they get to see your testimonials. We're not like scamming them psychologically. We're actually showing them our process, right? And if your process is good, this will help you. If your process is bad, this won't help you. So have a good process. So 24-hour reminder, 1-hour reminder, and a 15-minute reminder. Next, we'll automatically, so this is all automatic. So a lot of these things might be happening all at once. They're not happening like this, right? Next, after the call is booked, we'll automatically have them added to our newsletter, so we nurture them. So if they don't convert, right, eventually, we'll make sure that we're nurturing them with ads, we're nurturing them with content, we're nurturing them with a newsletter. We're just trying to nurture them as much as possible, so when they do convert, we're the one, right? So we'll attempt to pull in the call if we can. So if the call is more than 1 day out, we'll try to pull in the call, because any calls that are more than 1 day out or 1 or 2 days out are more likely to no-show. So we'll try to pull in that call. We'll call them up, try to pull in that call. So we'll conduct a discovery call, and if we don't close them in that call, we'll bam fam if needed. So bam fam is a Alex Hormozy term, means book a meeting from a meeting. So we'll book a second call if we need to, and then we'll send over the contract. And in the contract, we had the VSL again, the video sales letter about our process. That way, if there's multiple decision makers and they needed to send the agreement over for the other decision maker to look at it, but they weren't on the call, when they look at the contract, they'll see the video of our process. And if your VSL is good and your process is good, they'll be sold just by watching that video, right? And they'll know what's going on. And then after we send the contract, if they don't agree to it, we have 9 follow-ups after the contract is sent to close that deal, okay? And if they don't close after that, right, if they don't close after 9 follow-ups, we'll add them to a reactivation campaign to follow up in 3 to 6 months. If they did, we'll send a kickoff email, log all the notes in the CRM, reporting, and we do all this with automations. And then we'll review the deal with our sales account executives and SDRs. So that's the sales process. That's how we optimize our campaigns for deliverability and to increase our KPIs, right? This is how we scrape data. This is how we do the copywriting. This is our market research process. Now, lastly, how do you set goals and what is the cold email infrastructure? So these are the average KPIs of how many contacts you need to contact in order to get a lead. So if you have a bad offer, something like SEO, SEO isn't inherently bad. It's just people have been pitched SEO so many times, right? So SEO would be an example of something in this category. This would be a bad offer. So you'd have to contact 1,000 to 10,000 people in order to get one lead. And this also could be changed by how good your copywriting is, how good your data is, right? That's why there's a range. So if you want to get 10 leads, you might have to reach out to 10,000 to 100,000 people. If you have a decent offer, 400 contacts to 1,000 contacts per lead. Good offer, 200 to 400 contacts per lead. Great offer, 20 to 200 contacts per lead, okay? Now, average booking rate. So if you have a bad offer, you'll probably get 3 out of 10 leads to actually turn into a meeting. You get them higher, right? But I'm just giving these are averages, right? So there's people who do break the rules, but these are averages. So for decent offer, we get about 4 to 5 out of every leads, 4 to 5 leads out of 10 to turn into a meeting. For a good offer, 5 to about, I'd say 5 to 7 that actually turn into a meeting. Great offer. I'd say 7 to 9 that actually turn into a meeting. And then you can look at your average close rate. So this is the math you'll kind of need to follow to see how many contacts you need, right, to reach out to achieve your goals. So once we go through inboxes and stuff like that, you'll be able to actually do the math. So how many inboxes and domains do we need? So you only have 2 to 3 inboxes per domain. So how many emails can one inbox send a month? So we know how many domains and inboxes we really need. So 20 cold emails a day is how much an inbox can send. Times that by 26 days a month, that's 520 cold emails a month. So how many emails can we send per contact? How many emails do we send per contact? Usually we send 2 to 3 emails per contact, which means if we have one inbox, we could contact 173 people to 260 a month. So we put this together to do the cost breakdown and of kind of like how many inboxes and domains we will actually need. So I buy my domains from Namecheap. I buy my inboxes from Scale Mail. Dude, I don't know why my nose is so itchy. Average domain cost is $11 a year. Average inbox cost is $350 a month. So for 10 domains, it would cost around $110 a year. That means you could have 20 inboxes for those 10 domains, which would cost you around $70 a month. If you have 20 inboxes and you send 2 emails per contact, you can send roughly 5,200 emails per month. Okay. So I recommend kind of defining how much revenue you want to make a month, right? And then go backwards from there. So like I want to make 100,000, right? And my average ticket size is 10,000, which means you have to make 10 sales a month. Okay, so if you close 50% of those leads, that means if you close 10 deals, you need 20 meetings, right? Because you 50% close rate, you need 20 meetings. Okay, how many leads do you need to get to 20 meetings, right? Well, I have a decent offer, so I'm gonna need 40 leads to get 20 meetings. Okay, how many contacts do I need to reach out to get 40 meetings, right? Let's say it's 1,000. So I need to reach out to 40,000 people to get 40 meetings. Okay, so if I need to reach out to 40,000 people a month, how many inboxes do I need, right? So 40,000 divided by 173 tells you how many inboxes you need. And then how many inboxes you need, divide that by 2, and it's how many domains you need, right? So that's kind of, you work backwards. So that's kind of the breakdown. So all in all the tools that I use for cold email, domains, inboxes, we already talked about those. Our email sending tool is Lead Magic. This sends the cold emails automatically, $97 a month. Our email verification and finder tool is Lead Magic, and it also does we can use it for enrichment, like finding headcount, stuff like that. That's $100 a month. Data enrichment, scoring, and cleaning tool is Clay. That's $345 a month. Website de-anonymizer is B2B, Instantly and Vector. That's around $100 to $200 a month. So what this is essentially is when someone goes on your website, you don't know who they are. B2B tells you who they are. So B2B tells you every single person that comes on your website that it has data on, which obviously is about half of them, maybe a little more, maybe a little less. It tells you the name, the company name they work for, the position they are in, the LinkedIn for every single website visitor. So we could take all this data, send it to Clay, enrich it, and then send cold emails to them. So that's crazy. Same thing with LinkedIn visitor identification. So we use Trigify, around $149 a month. So this takes any likes, comments, connections you have, profile visits. You could also use Teamfluence. And we take all the data and we send it to Clay. And then we enrich all our engagers or we also do this for competitors. So we'll take our competitors' engagement, our engagement, any thought leaders, any employees we have. We'll take all that data, we'll send it to Clay, we'll enrich it so we could score against our ideal customer persona. If it matches, we'll cold email them, cold call them, or cold DM them. Our scheduling tool is Calendly, $11 a month. Our LinkedIn automation tool, HeyReach, $79 a month. So this is used for automatic firm requests or cold DMs. Our newsletter tool, Beehive, is free. And then for ChatGPT tokens for Clayagent, this is for AI, those AI agents that will go out there and scrape all your prospects for, enrichment. So like for example, in Clay, when I'm like, hey, let me know if there's any case studies on this website, that's ClayGen. ClayGen's going to go out there and scrape all those. But we need ChatGPT tokens in order to do that. $50 a month. Our data scraper, Appify, $35 a month. We could use this to scrape Apollo, use this to scrape Google Maps and Twitter, whatever we want to scrape. Appify is like hundreds of different scrapers that we could pick from to scrape. And then if you want to track intent signals and use Common Room, that's $1,000 a month. But all in all, that's everything from cold email infrastructure and KPIs for goal setting to the market research side of things, to how to find your data, to how to do copywriting, to how to execute the cold email campaigns for optimization and deliverability, and the full sales process we go through. So that's it, guys. Hope you guys liked the video. And if you guys want help implementing this system, reach out to us. We'll be more than glad to help you out. We could just hop on a quick 15-minute call, see if we're a good fit, and if we are, we go from there. But if you guys want to watch more videos about Clay or cold email, make sure to click one of these right here. But that's it for now. Bye.